Building on Ms. Doherty's question, one of the issues that has come up this past year is Medicaid payments,
Right.
and the state is now requiring counties to repay money or to pay money that wasn't properly collected. It was the state's error, it was ACA's error, the Administration for Health, the Agency for Healthcare Administration. Where do you fall on that particular issue? Because talking about a healthcare specific issue that
Right.
affects not just
when
counties.
I said healthcare, I didn't have the specific details, but I know I listened to the county commission lobby and threaten lawsuit, and I believe they probably are in litigation with the state over this issue. It's an issue again where it's an unfunded mandate. It's the state's responsibility to deal with right now, and they shouldn't be passing the ball.
Related to the county commission, when Representative Matt Caldwell was here last month on May 14th, he had stated that the Lee County Commission was essentially the laughingstock of the state, that it was one of the worst regarded commissions in the state, and that's part of the reason he was behind this effort to create a hybrid county commission. How do you see the perception of Southwest Florida? Because we've heard everything from Governor Scott say that Lee and Collier County are like islands when it comes to appointments in state boards. What is the perception of Southwest Florida from your vantage point, and how might you improve that?
Yeah, I think, the perception of our area is one, it's a great place to be. It's got so many positives for it. The perception of our government entities, not always the best. Lord knows we've dealt with that in Cape Coral for many years, and, I think things have improved over the last, few years, and certainly I was very cognizant of that when I was on the council to try and improve our reputation and make our community look better to the general public. I don't want to get into the hybrid system. I don't think that's an issue for the state to deal with. We have issues in the state that we need to focus on. That's not one of them. I would leave it to the commission and to the local residents to deal with how they choose to elect their county commission, how they choose to elect their city councils. Not a mandate that should be coming from the state.
Oh yeah, just following up, going to the state legislature is almost like you're joining a big club.
Yeah.
How do you picture as a change agent? I mean, there's the status quo situation where you join the club, and there's the situation where you come in as a sort of a rabble rouser to change the status quo. Now, you've mentioned a lot of things here. How do you see, how, I guess not asking for an exact plan now, but I've seen many state legislators get swallowed up into the process. And how do you change the status quo, for instance, in education? So they're almost dictating from Tallahassee. In light of, we have home rule here, say in the Cape,
right?
How would you exploit that to bring about the changes?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and I'll use a little bit the city council as an example. A much smaller body, obviously, 8 people on the city council in Cape Coral, although at times there were probably 120 different personalities there. Yeah. When I came onto the city council, it was not a council that had a real appetite for reducing spending or shrinking government or stopping fee increases, but through earning the respect of the other council members and staying consistent to the principles I believed in and making some convincing arguments for what I was hoping to accomplish, we were able to actually reduce the budget. We were able to actually do some things. Tallahassee, although different in a lot of ways, the principles are the same. Going there, working hard, knowing what you're doing, and being someone who is informed, someone who has ideas, someone's willing to work hard in the system, will certainly earn you respect of your fellow legislators. You won't always agree on everything. I think it was Reagan that said, if you get 80% of what you ask for, then take it because you're doing well. You know, it's not a my way or no way situation. You have to compromise, but you don't compromise your principles. You stand by those. The other thing is that in this race, I've not had the privilege or maybe curse of being supported by any lobbyists or special interests in Tallahassee. So I go up there with a pure heart and a pure record, and will be able to vote my conscience without any problem. And standing on principle, you get to work with fellow legislators that also are like-minded, and there are plenty of them, and 120 people that will agree that limited government and smaller government is the way to go. You begin to forge those alliances, as I said, work hard, and then you move ahead.
Just a little, the thing about lobbyists, I think any probably new legislator goes without the support of a lobbyist until you get there. They see what interest has to be brought to you to start lobbying you. So we'll say that you're going up there with clean hands to start with.
Right.
Just a transition to Wisconsin. Does Wisconsin set any example for Scott, and then flows down to this legislature? Because there were some legislature changes in the legislature there. You know, do you think there's any conflict that you'll see coming?
I think too much is made of the Wisconsin situation as it relates to Florida. We're not Wisconsin. We're a totally totally different system down here, and I believe that we have a government that wants to adhere to the principles of lower taxes, less spending, smaller government, and that's not something new here. We've been Republican-controlled in the legislature now for several years. Wisconsin, that's radically different from what they're used to, and they're going through a big shift where we don't have that issue. So I don't put too much emphasis on what happened in Wisconsin as to how it relates to Florida.
I'd like to return just to build upon a point that Mr. Barton made regarding the going up to join this club. The reality is that you'll have leadership that's going to have some expectations of you. It's going to request or even try to require you to vote in a certain way in order to be able to advance. We've seen legislators who've been punished because they didn't follow leadership either. They've been denied committee chairmanships. They've been stripped of their offices. Would you be willing to take the risk to buck leadership just on that, or how would you play with leadership?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go up there and be a rebel. You don't want to, there's a fine line between standing your ground and voting on principle and being a rebel. And you don't want to go up there and make enemies, but you do have to vote according to your principles and according to what the people back home, your constituents, want. Many times I think that will probably be in agreement with leadership in Tallahassee, but not always. And when it isn't, you vote the way your constituents would want you to vote, the way your principles, they're the ones that put you in office. If that means a less than stellar committee assignment, so be it. But you work your way back up, and again, as long as you're making convincing arguments and can clarify why you have the position you do and stand by it, I think you'll be fine as a representative. There's no need to send somebody up to Tallahassee who is simply going to vote the way the party tells them to vote. That accomplishes nothing for our community. Just to go up and be another vote is not